Dr. John Hitt has been the face of the University of Central Florida for 20 years. But he's also a dedicated husband, an avid fisherman and golfer, and a community leader. We'll get a glimpse into his personal life, his goals, and his influences next on UCF Metro Center Outlook.
This program is made possible by funding from the UCF Metropolitan Center for Regional Studies, where government leaders, business executives, and academic experts come together to discuss major issues facing the state of Florida.
Hello everyone, welcome to UCF Metro Center Outlook. I'm Diane Trees, Director of the UCF Metropolitan Center for Regional Studies, and your host for Metro Center Outlook. In the land of black and gold, UCF President John Hitt is king. But how did the first-generation college student rise to become the president of the second largest university in the nation? He joins us today to discuss his life and his success as he celebrates his 20th anniversary as president of UCF. Dr. Hitt, welcome to the show today. Back in 1992, UCF was a relatively unknown school, more of a commuter reputation. We had two universities already established here. What attracted you to come to Florida and take the role on as president?
Well, I visited the campus as part of a job interview process. I'd been told by Dale Lick, who had been my president at Maine and was then president at Florida State, that it was a great opportunity. I think Dale said it was probably the best opportunity in the country for me. And then when I came on campus, I saw the research park just to the south. I talked to community leaders, and it was obvious that there was a great opportunity here. So I was thrilled when they made me the offer and accepted in a heartbeat.
So you saw growth even at that point?
Growth and the opportunity to really build something of high quality.
When you came here, you had 20,000 students.
21,200.
We're over 58,000 now.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any idea that the growth was going to be of this magnitude? Was that ever a part of a plan for you?
I don't think we could have envisioned a number like 58,000. Early on in my tenure, though, we did a little checking on the master planning that had been done and found a memo that forecasted that by 2010 there would be 48,000 students. And if you look, it wasn't that bad a guess, really. As these estimates go, for instance, no one would have envisioned that we would have 3,000 or 4,000 students who were taking only internet-based courses. So, it was a pretty good guess. So. Just working off the pretty clear demographic trends, people had been able to estimate growth to around 50,000. And so it was, it's a little bit surprising but not shocking that we're at 58,000.
You said in order to be a successful university president that you have to transform yourself along with transformations in an organization. What did you mean by that?
Well, universities grow and they change not just quantitatively but qualitatively. I've been lucky to have several, we could argue whether it's 3 or 4, but several really different presidencies right here at UCF. It is not the university today that it was in 1992. If a president or any other employee or faculty member at a university is to prosper and survive even, then she or he has to be able to change with the institution. Now, some institutions don't change much. And so someone could come in and be a good steward of status quo for 20 years, 30 years, and not have to change a whole lot perhaps. But in a dynamic institution like UCF, we're not anywhere near the same we were even 5 or 6 years ago.
No, we've changed radically in
change all the
time period. Yes.
And if you think back to the time when I got here, we awarded maybe 25 or 30 doctoral degrees a year. Now it's 250. We were doing 20 or 30 million dollars of research, perhaps. Now it's well over 100 million. We had a different kind of student body, a different kind of faculty. And if I had not been able to change, I probably couldn't have kept up, let alone provide some leadership.
How has your leadership style changed over the years? Has it changed?
Well, I think some aspects of it have changed. I expect they have. Certainly, if you're going to be president of an organization anywhere near the size of UCF, you've got to trust other people and be able to hire and work with, in an ongoing basis, talented individuals who will do the day-to-day tasks. If I worked 24 hours a day, I couldn't do all the things that need to be done administratively.
I think you do work 24
Oh,
hours a day.
I don't at all, no. But, you know, you have to be able to delegate. And I think that's been the ability to build a strong team and trust them, to delegate to them, has been the hallmark of my successes as president.
I've been told a story that you wrote down 5 university goals on a napkin at an airport before you came here. And those were the 5 goals that you put in place. They're still guiding us today. What makes those goals so timeless?
Well, I think, and that story is mostly true, not entirely. We did edit the goals from that first
From the
draft
napkin?
that Dan Holzenbeck loves to talk about. And that was important because we improved the phrasing of some of them. But think about the goals, you know, offer the best undergraduate education in Florida, achieve international prominence in key programs of graduate study and research, provide an international focus to our programs of teaching, research, and service, become more inclusive and diverse, become America's leading partnership university. Those aren't unambitious goals, and they are really, they establish directions of travel toward excellence and toward success. They're not, you know, be this enrollment or do this many of this or that. They're really the directions of travel toward true excellence. And I don't think that the conditions of success have changed that much in 20 years. You know, we're still focusing on high quality undergraduate education. The key programs of graduate study and research, you know, that recognizes you can't be everything to everyone. You have to focus. The international component is as important today as it was then, perhaps more so.
Right.
And what university or college in this nation, or probably in the world, doesn't need to be more inclusive and diverse? If you just, certainly anywhere in the United States, I cannot imagine a college or university that wouldn't be improved by being more inclusive and diverse.
So it's sort of like a continuum
Yes.
of the goals that, but they're still timeless in what you
Yeah.
set forth.
Yeah, now, you know, we have other objectives that we set for ourselves, and we work toward them. We've seen the advent of the UCF Creed. There are a number of other developments that have taken place. But, you know, all of our great successes rest on that bedrock of partnership. And that, I think, was the most important, really, of the 5 goals.
Yes. 5 to 7 years is usually the average tenure of a president in one location. Did you ever imagine that you would be here for 20 years?
Not really, Diane. In fact, at the time I came, the average tenure of a president in a state university of our size and complexity, even then, was about 3.5 years.
Oh, less than 5 to 7.
It was
then.
actually slightly shorter than the average tenure of the football coach. And that occasioned a lot of laughter among presidents, you know, thinking about our longevity was surpassed by the football coach on average. That's changed a little now to the 5 to 7 that you mentioned, but no, I couldn't have imagined 20 years. And I don't know that in most cases it would be that desirable for the president or the institution.
Well, it's been wonderful for us.
Well, you're kind. It's certainly been wonderful for me to have the opportunity to work with a great team here at UCF.
What's been your most memorable moment as president?
Oh, there have been a number. Certainly the passage of the motion that created the UCF and FIU medical schools. You know, we had worked so hard over a period of a couple of years, had a lot of frustrations along the way. When we started that quest, most people thought we were crazy. They gave us almost no chance of being successful.
I remember that,
And
yes.
yes, you were here
I
and
was
part of the
here.
efforts. You know, I said half in jest that that established UCF as the institution that transforms the impossible into the inevitable. And think about it, we went from just in November really not having the votes we needed to pass the motion to getting a 15-to-1 vote. And of course, the chair, Carolyn Roberts, chair of the Board of Governors, was in our corner, but didn't, she voted, the chair votes only in the event of a tie, and 15-1 is certainly not a tie. But we had 16 of the 17 votes.
You started so many ventures and ideas for us here. Is there anyone that you were really worried might not come through? Anyone that really gave you those sleepless nights?
Well, there have been several, but I think of one that not many people would be aware of. We put together a plan to get more equitable funding for UCF early in my tenure here. And people gave us no chance of getting that done. Folks who'd been on the campus a while, Frank Juge, for instance, who's a great saint of the institution. Frank has done wonderful work for us in a number of fields over the years. Told me that he thought if I could get $1 million out of the effort, they ought to build a statue of me somewhere on campus. Well, with the great help of Dan Holzenbeck and then Provost Gary Whitehouse, we got $17 million, and it made a huge difference for us.
I remember those days. That was a miraculous thing, and for so many years we had not had the funding.
And you know, I took a lot of heat over the effort, and got a call one afternoon that said I really needed to take 10 million, not 17. If I'd take 10 there, I'd get it. If I turned it down, I might not get anything. And that tests your conviction a little bit.
I guess it did.
But I had to tell the person calling that too many people were depending on me to get this thing right. And 10 was a modest number. 17 was really a modest number, and I just didn't feel I'd be keeping faith with the UCF and the Orlando community if I settled for 10. And we got the 17.
Would you say that that was sort of a turning point in the growth aspect for the university?
Growth and quality. Because we had the dynamics for growth moving. We certainly knew we needed to do some additional things for our students that would raise their success prospects. And we knew we needed to do much more for the faculty and staff to help them better serve the students and to give them the tools they would need to be more successful in getting grants and contracts and publishing and doing the other things that help make faculty careers successful.
Let's talk a little bit about your personal educational background. You are a first-generation college graduate in your family.
Yes.
When you started out, did you have your PhD in mind? What was your value for education then?
My value in education was that my late father had wanted me to go to college, and my mother insisted that I do it, and I wasn't going to disappoint her, and you know, in his memory, I wanted to do it. I had very little idea of what it meant to go to college. I didn't know what a PhD was. So I sort of did what my family wanted and expected me to do, and got very lucky in the people I encountered and the opportunities I was given.
You've often said that education transforms lives. How would you say that your college education has impacted or shaped the leader that you've become?
Well, I think it shaped first the person that I could become. I was given opportunities to grow intellectually, emotionally, professionally, personally, and to learn about opportunities that I had never known existed. Had you asked me whether I could ever imagine myself being president of a college or university, I'd had to say no. I don't even know what one does. You know, I became a psychologist. I've often said, people think I'm joking, but I'm really not. I doubt I could have spelled psychology or psychologist when I went to college.
I don't think that that's the case. I think that you used it very well.
But I learned, you know, we're talking about transformation. And a good college education opens horizons, helps a person of any age understand more about himself or herself, and more about the opportunities that are in the world. And some really outstanding people took an interest in me and helped me understand what I might be able to do if I worked hard and stayed at it. I was just very blessed.
The mentoring along the way.
The mentoring along the way, absolutely.
Now, you obviously have the success as UCF's president, but that's only part of the picture. You are a public figure, a celebrity of sorts here, a community leader. Do those things add more responsibility for you? Do you think about those things?
Some. There are things that a president is called on to do, and you know, being president's pretty much a full-time job, and you might say, well, gee, I've already got all I can handle on my plate as president. It can be an all-consuming job. But if you think about where the place that the university occupies and needs to occupy in a community, then it really does become incumbent on a president to take on other responsibilities when called upon. So yeah, I think about it. I don't obsess about it, but it does occur to me that there are things that I need to do, and not just to advance UCF, and certainly not to advance John Hitt, but because of the place the university is in and needs to be for the progress of the community.
It seems to have come naturally, though, to you.
Well, perhaps. I don't. One thing I would say is I've never felt that I was building a resume, if you know what I mean. So I do the things that I think are important and will advance greater Central Florida, greater Orlando, and UCF.
Who's been the greatest influence on your life?
Oh, I think probably hands down my mother. My dad passed away when I was 15, and he certainly was a very strong influence in my life. But my mother took over the family business when there weren't many women running businesses, small businesses, and made it possible for me to go to college. Really was a constant source of encouragement in my life. And I would say the other very strong positive influence is Martha, my wife.
Well, we've been talking about your 20 years here, but you've just celebrated another milestone anniversary.
Yes.
That's your 50th wedding anniversary with Mrs. Hitt. Congratulations for you on that.
Well, thank you, Diane. And you know, I would just have to say, poor Martha.
Can you talk a little bit about the important role that she's played in the success of UCF?
Well, if you know Martha, and I know you do, she is a very warm, caring person.
Yes, she is.
And she has been with me every step of the way throughout my career and throughout our lives together. And we are blessed with 2 fine children and 2 great-grandchildren. And you know, we share the same religious faith. It's been a true marriage where we have grown together. We are closer than we've ever been, I think, but we've also had opportunities that have been transforming for each of us.
She is a very warm and caring person, and that comes through right away when you meet her.
Yes.
With the campus, the atmosphere on our campus has changed so much. You look at the reflecting pond, and it's like an outdoor living room sometimes for the students. I found that you can even rent a dog to play with on a monthly basis when they bring the pet rescue mission in. How do you feel about the atmosphere on campus now?
Oh, it's changed so much in the 20 years that we've been here. You know, the great student union we have didn't exist when we came. It was built early in our time here, but we really didn't have that great congregating space. We didn't have the wellness and recreation center. We had very few classroom buildings even. We only had about 600 students living on campus. Early on, it seemed to me that we had to get a critical mass of students who were in residence on the campus. And if we could get that, then the social activities, the co-curricular intellectual activities, cultural activities would have an adequate audience to support them, both in terms of people in an audience and participants in terms of students for activities like theater and musical performances, all sorts of things. So that was a top priority for us in the early years. Once we were able to expand our residence halls and get the numbers up to the critical mass, it made a huge difference in the quality and breadth of programming that we could offer to keep students on campus.
It was not very long after that it was expanded.
Yes.
The need became so quick. You run a huge organization, and it is a business.
Yes.
But you have kept that interaction with the students. Your President's Leadership Council, those students are wonderful. What value does that bring to you with the role that you have to play?
I think it keeps me grounded to some extent. There seems to be an unwritten law. I don't think I'm the only one to observe this. I expect it's pretty common across presidencies that the bigger the institution gets, the less time presidents spend with their students. So having a group like the President's Leadership Council, 30-some students in any given year, whom we see over and over again, and get to know personally, that keeps me a little bit in touch with, I say a little bit in touch with, what students are thinking, what their values are, how they believe they're being served and perhaps not served by the institution. We do a series of dinners over the course of the year for President's Leadership Council, and every one concludes with a question and answer series where we open up the floor for any student to make any comment or ask any question that she or he has on mind. So it's a really good opportunity for me to hear what a group of bright, high-achieving, and positive students have to say. What's on their mind is very important.
Looking back 20 years, what makes you most proud?
We could point to specific achievements. Clearly, things like the medical school, walking out on the field at Bright House Network Stadium for that opening game against Texas. Those are all great individual memories. But what I'm really most proud of is the teamwork that has worked so well to help build this university. UCF people are just very positive, professional people. They're willing to take on challenges, and there's a minimum of finger pointing. People are ready to say, look, if we've got a problem, it's ours and we'll solve it. And that's remarkable, and it certainly is not true on every campus.
No, it's not. Thank you, Dr. Hitt, for your time today. I've been able to see firsthand what your leadership has meant to the university and to our community, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Diane.
For more information about UCF, please visit the UCF website. You also have a chance to continue today's discussion by weighing in on our interactive website. Until next time, I'm Diane Trees.
This program was made possible by funding from the Metropolitan Center for Regional Studies, where government leaders, business executives, and academic experts come together to discuss major issues facing the state of Florida.